Hey guys, this is Joe, founder and host of Startuprad.io. As you guys may already know, I've run this podcast full-time since January 2021. I'm very happy to announce that Anchor FM is my sponsor for this podcast. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free and it's easy to use, even for a newbie. They're creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Welcome to Startuprad.io, your podcast and YouTube blog covering the German startup scene with news, interviews, and live events.
Hello and welcome everybody. This is Joe from Startuprad.io, your startup podcast and YouTube blog from Germany. It is fall officially. You see my beard's here. I'm wearing a sweater and a shirt underneath it. And of course, Christian is here with me for the startup news. Hey, Christian.
Yeah. Hey, Jörn. It's fall is coming in New York. Yesterday I also needed the sweater, and today I put it on again just for style reasons.
Style reasons, always good. You're very stylish, admittedly. And I do have the startup news to put together with you. So let's dive in directly. Let's see what we have. We bring you the startup news of summer. That means July, August, and September 2019 for Germany. We announce all our live streams at Meetup, so go join us there, find us there. And we are, of course, doing this once again as a Frankfurt-to-New-York live hangout. We'll have in the show notes, of course, all the options to contact us, email us, Twitter us, LinkedIn, and of course for Christian also the homepage. Sponsoring message. Startups.observer supports this program. Startups.observer is like online dating for startups and investors. It is by far the easiest and most efficient way to research potential investment candidates or look for potential investors. Housekeeping, time to brag. We made it in the top 100, 200, 400 and top 1000 podcast charts now in 23 countries and counting. We made it in the top 400 in Bella Italia and Brazil during the summer. Learn more at www.startuprad.io/about-us. And also we are starting to separate our tracks a little bit. You know that we try to bring you interviews from all over the German startup scene, crossing all industries. Now we made our first carve out with Fintech Germany, which you'll find in Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, and of course on Twitter as a standalone podcast. What this means: first, we go into the archives of Startuprad.io and look for all the interesting fintech content we have there and publish it there, as well as current interviews and of course those news, and eventually you'll only get the most recent fintech content we are publishing in parallel on Startuprad.io as well as on this channel. Your big advantage is you won't have anything else besides the fintech content. As usual, there's a lot going on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/startupradio. Since the last news, we published 10 interviews. You'll find, of course, all of them on the channel. For example, IT Seal helps companies to train their employees in cybersecurity. ULT holds the US patent for a universal translator. My Career and Child is a virtual community to help coping with family and career. Beta allows the calculation of tailored indices. And we had 3 startups of the month by Frankfurt Forward. For example, Sulfur Tools, which is a STEAM, Science, Technology, Engineering, Mathematics, STEAM startup. which replaces toxic components for the production of peptides with simply water. And our media partnership with Frankfurt Forward brings us straight to our hub sections, where only I will do Frankfurt, Rhein-Main, and then Chris will take over. Frankfurt-based sports startup producing the antelope suit called Wearable Life Science is in preliminary insolvency. They are known for having investors like Red Bull, and we did interviews with them in 2018 and 2019. Very sad to hear that, and fingers crossed they'll get back on track very soon. As one of the founders said during an interview I had with him, they learned hardware is hard. The owners of software maker TeamViewer are planning a Frankfurt listing this year that could be the biggest initial public offering for a technology company in nearly 2 decades in Germany. You'll learn more on the links. Rossmann, one of Germany's leading drugstore chains, buys 25.1% stake in Frankfurt-based AI trend scout called Swarm. All longtime followers, know our interview with founder Peter Hart, who started out originally with Dr. Severin, an aftershave for women. Seedtable put together a list of 100 best Frankfurt startups to watch in 2019, including many Startuprad.io interview partners, for example, Beta, Clark, SafeDroid, and Avamo. Even Startup Radio is listed there. Fintech News CH, for everybody who doesn't know that, CH is always from Switzerland, points out what many in Frankfurt already know. Frankfurt is a place to mingle between fintechs and the banks, and any kind of fintech company or from any part of Germany comes to Frankfurt, whether they are based in Berlin, Hamburg, or Munich, writes fintechnews.ch. Frankfurt-based cannabis startup Pharmaco kicked out its last CEO. Now it's hired a new CEO, a woman, Katrin Eckmans. She will manage what is left after one of the main investors split the company and took over its production of biosynthetic CBD. Complicated words. Frankfurt is included in the next 50 non-capital European cities ranked by the number of value of angel, seed, and early stage VC deals closed by Stifter.eu, a publication of Financial Times. Frankfurt-based broker Fintech Group is up for sale. Interested parties include rumored to be Goldman Sachs and Germany's largest game developers and studios. 2019 by German special interest publication Gameswirtschaft.de. They put together a list, and number 1 is Bluebyte with location in Mainz. Number 3 is Gameforge from Karlsruhe. Number 4 is Crytek from Frankfurt, known for a 3D engine behind many well-known ego shooters and a big investment from Amazon. Iconic Lab, the ICO accelerator turned blockchain VC, invests in Captain Bitcoin. They write on Medium. Iconic Labs has invested into and seeded the crypto adoption platform Captain Bitcoin. After generating substantial interest from the community and onboarding over 330,000 verified users in the first 30 days of the website's existence, Captain Bitcoin is ready to finalize its MVP and put Bitcoin into the hand of its users by giving away $1,000 in BTC every day in return for users consuming content. And finally, Goldman ready to invest more in German fintechs out of Frankfurt, reports Bloomberg. They also state that they see the ecosystem in Frankfurt developing. Greater Rhine-Main area Volocopter reveals its first commercial aircraft, the Volocity Air Taxi, on TechCrunch. And Bundesliga team 1. FSV Mainz 05 now has a launch for founders in cooperation with partners where they can pitch their startup. Whew, that was a lot. Giving over to Chris.
Yeah, just a couple of thoughts there. I think it's really interesting that TeamViewer becomes such a hidden champion, because I think also rightfully so. They are doing a good job in bringing families together, because children can take care of the computers of their parents without being there. And I think it's a product that works really, really well. And with Volocopter, I think it's also interesting because you see that it's a company that really tries to move fast. They have plans that in the fourth quarter They will already have some test operation in Singapore going on. So we will see how that goes, because so far this Volvo City Air taxi that they presented just has a range of around like 20, 25 miles, and it's just made for 2 people. And it's really going to be interesting to see how scalable this business actually is. So we will see. Now we have the classic New York siren in the background, but it doesn't matter because we will move on to Hamburg, where we see in venture capital news that Deutsche Telekom Capital Partners, DTCP, raises and starts a second venture capital fund with $350 million, focusing on software as a service startups, adding in the process Zeiss Group, which is a German manufacturer for glasses and lenses, and SK Telecom as new corporate backers of the second venture capital fund. And in Munich, the other end of Germany, compared to Hamburg, there is Scalable Capital, Germany's largest robo-advisor, which raised 25 million euros in a Series C round. So congratulations to them, which means from the hubs, we move on to the German ecosystem as a whole. And the first story that we learned about, or that was interesting to us in the summer, was Wirecard versus the Financial Times. Because if you look at it, the Financial Times has been bashing Wirecard for some time now. And there were reports on February 7th on suspect transactions in Singapore. It turned out that short sellers knew about the article days before publication, and so the Financial Times had to question their reporting, especially given the very small volume involved in those Singapore transactions. Reuters has a good overview of that. We have a link in the show notes. And also, Wirecard sent a letter to the Financial Times to stop publishing articles and conduct an internal investigation. It appears that Wirecard got hold of an audio recording of short sellers discussing the unfavorable articles before the Financial Times publication. Wall Street Journal then wrote that the FT has hired a law firm to conduct a review of the Wirecard reporting. But so far now, no results are known yet. But it's quite interesting, especially since the Financial Times had some problems with Wirecard reporting in the past. And they're usually not known for sloppy reporting. So it's kind of a mysterious and juicy affair going on that definitely is being talked about in the German startup and financial startup system as well. Then we have Check24. Check24, for those of you who don't know it, is a huge website in Germany that compares all kinds of offerings. So it's a bit like Expedia or Booking.com, but not just for travel, but also for insurances, and for flights, hotels, rental cars. But they have all kinds of different offerings, and also real estate. So they used to be the top dog for B2C financial services too. Now FinLeap is rolling out a challenger called Yonko, and we will see whether Check24 can sustain its position in the market. And the last thing from me, since I worked a lot in that area too, if you look at mobility companies, Mazda is pulling the plug on its car-sharing joint venture with Deutsche Bahn, Lidl, and the mobility provider Choice, headquartered in Berlin. So someone dropping out of a very competitive market that in Germany is very heavily influenced by that joint venture coming from BMW and Mercedes. So a smaller company like Mazda is probably not cut out to be in that market anymore, as shown by the fact that they stopped doing it. Back to you.
Thank you, Chris. The interesting stuff was that Gründerszene, the usual disclaimer, you write for Gründerszene, wrote that nobody earned money with car sharing yet, and Mazda just pulling the plug. We will see where this is going. Food delivery wars. Europe's food delivery wars are just beginning, right? writes Stifted.eu. It's been a very busy few weeks for Europe's food delivery companies. Just Eat and Takeaway.com, the two veterans of the market, agreed a merger. They combined the company worth a whopping £9 billion. Uber Eats announced that it plans to start delivering groceries items too. Deliveroo told customers it would be pulling out of Germany, acquired a Scottish software startup, and announced plans to boost its tech team. And rumors swirled that both Uber and Deliveroo were eyeing up Spanish delivery startup Glovo for acquisition. The battle over Europe's stomach is just only beginning, it seems. And that was a quote from the article, which is strongly recommended. And Chris, want to say something? Hang on.
Sorry for interrupting. One interesting thing, especially about Uber, is that the company so heavily tries to diversify and tries to make money, yet it also doesn't really succeed. So if from time to time you're also listening to other podcasts than ours, I really can recommend the New York Times The Daily episode about Uber a couple of weeks back. It's really interesting. They got in depth about that the whole company never turned a profit, and that the whole system is really, really hard to make money on. So it might very well be that the whole history of Uber and Lyft and all of its competitors might not turn out to have a happy ending.
That, of course, can happen. Maybe also not a happy ending. Fintechs in Germany, we hope it's different. Out of approximately 800 fintechs in Germany, 200 failed since 2017. The number does not include mergers and takeovers. This is quite a good quota, with close to 90% expected failure rate in startups in general. I would expect around 700 failed. Most fintechs fail in their third or fourth year of existence. It appears B2C fintechs fail at a slightly higher rate. Most failures are accounted for in the subsectors of financing, which saw 70, PropTech 52, payments 29, InsurTechs 22, investments 20, and crypto 11. Related to it, Penta, German digital bank Penta, gets backing of billion-dollar venture fund. You find the link in the show notes. Learn more about them here, since we, Startuprad.io, kept track of them since 2016. And related, Fair, Fairr, the Berlin-based fintech unicorn Raisin, acquires German pension startup Fair. We found it on CoinSpeaker. Fintechs, we stick with them. Fintechs in Switzerland, Zurich-based Numbers, whose investors include Josef Ackermann, former investment banker and CEO of Deutsche Bank, has raised another VC round, turning it a unicorn. The unicorn plans to expand in other countries, and once again, a critical article pointed out that they never made a profit. Now we're going to dive a little bit into the hot topic of this summer, Libra. How Facebook raced to build its Libra coin. The social network quietly assembled a crypto team and courted partners for more than a year, writes the Financial Times. And then we found something very interesting. Many people may know Dr. Doom, and he also has some thoughts on it. What about the claim that Libra would be a boon to financial inclusion in emerging and developing countries? Perhaps, but Libra may instead become a source of major headaches for them. Emerging economies have long been combating so-called dollarization, the tendency of residents to seek insurance by holding US dollar accounts in local banks and dominating contracts, including wage contracts, in dollars, because dollarization kept central banks from serving as lender of last resort to domestic banks. It foments financial instability. It also renders monetary policy less effective by, for example, limiting the positive effects of currency depreciation on exports and employment. That was from the FT. And Dr. Doom, he is a professor at, I do believe, NYU. He's an Italian, and he is Nouriel Rubini, and he is known for having predicted the last financial crisis, and he writes about Libra: cryptocurrencies have given rise to an entire new criminal industry, compromising unregulated offshore exchanges, paid propagandists, and an army of scammers looking to fleece retail investors. This is not merely a conjecture. Some of the biggest crypto players may be openly involved in systematic illegality. Consider BitMEX, an unregulated trillion-dollar exchange of crypto derivatives that is domiciled in the Seychelles but active globally. Its CEO, Arthur Hayes, boasted openly that BitMEX business model involves peddling to degenerated gamblers, meaning clueless retail investors, crypto derivatives with 100-to-1 leverage. Plus, many people remind us of the default of Argentina on its 82 billion sovereign debt, which is the largest the world has seen. But Argentina's failed policy, known as currency board, is exactly what Facebook is trying to create with Libra. There was quite a big mix of Dr. Toom and Financial Times reporting, but it should give you an idea what the economists are thinking about it. I hand over the quantum computing to Christian.
There are 10 European startups cooling down the crazy worlds of quantum computing. There was just a nice article that we found at EU Startups. And one company included is, or companies included are JOS Quantum from Frankfurt, HiQSim from Karlsruhe, and Qtra from Munich. So quite a good mix of German companies there. We also saw some news about private health insurance in Germany. Heal Capital, there is the name of a new venture capital fund from German private health insurers, aiming for 100 million euros. And the fund will be managed by the Berlin-based VCs Heartbeat Labs and Flying Health. And probably one last thing there related to the fintechs in Germany, or the financial startups. One other thing we saw in the summer was that N26, that digital bank that in Germany had quite some growing pain, but now seems to be in a pretty good shape, launched in the US. And I see it all the time over here, the advertisements for their here in New York. Looking at companies, just yesterday, so Wednesday, September 18th, 2019, Deutsche Bank stake lifts in the German fintech deposit solutions to 1 billion euros valuation. So Hamburg has a new unicorn. Congratulations. And as always, we're looking at Rocket Internet, which is also in some kind of turmoil. So there is, at first, there is the IPO for Global Fashion Group. Rocket Internet's Global Fashion Group, GFG, raised less than half the sum it had originally targeted in an IPO of new shares that drew weak investor demand and ended up being mostly backed by its existing shareholder. Home24 also had an IPO that did not go well so far. Share price lost 90% of its value as compared to the almost stable DAX, the German version of the Nasdaq. Now, XCOM starts to speculate who will buy the company Home24 with only 79 million euros cash on its balance sheet. HelloFresh, though, nears Zalando-style turning point after its first profit. So good news from HelloFresh. And reportedly, Rocket Internet raised another venture capital fund, this time with a volume of $1 billion US, and they're looking to invest in fintech, B2B, and software. We'll see how that goes. And in general, we saw with Rocket Internet that there were even rumors that they might pull the plug completely in terms of leaving the stock exchange with Rocket Internet itself. But also just now, news is that the company's CEO said that those rumors were unsubstantiated. Moving on to venture capital. Thank you.
Thank you. Venture capital, as always, this is just a very, very tiny selection. We had like hundreds of venture capital funding rounds, so we just picked a few, and maybe you'll find some more important ones. Just let us know. Raisin, a Berlin-based savings and investment marketplace, said it had tapped investment bank Goldman Sachs for chop-up funding as it joins other European fintech players in targeting the US market. Related, Raisin picks up 28 million backing from Goldman Sachs for its saving and investment marketplace from TechCrunch. Another news, Berlin-based Billy raised 30 million euros for its B2B invoicing and payments platform. Vienna-based Bitpanda launches their global exchange after having raised 43.6 million US dollars in their initial exchange offering. Berlin-based game studio Klang raises 20 million euros to develop its MMO virtual space Colony Seed. The German PropTech startup secures 30 million, wants to create a first digital ecosystem around housing, right Silicon Canals. And Berlin-based logistics startup Sender raises Series C financing around 70 million US dollars, right FreightWaves. Related, Germany BaFin approves next security token offering as Startmark seeks 50 million euros. And we have a little bit more news on fintech. Berlin-based Solaris Bank is looking to break even in 2020. The fintech was founded in 2016 and increased revenues threefold since, but it has also losses worth 18 million euros, writes Handelsblatt. And for the last two news, I hand over back to Christian.
We have a fashion merger of Mondo and Outfittery, two companies that try to style up with personal consultation. We talked about the merger of the Berlin-based curated shopping, Modo and Outfittery. Now Jochen Krisch, the e-commerce analyst and blogger at excitingcommerce.de, uncovered that Moto shareholders only ended up with 16% of the new company. So definitely not a merger of equals there. And online groceries, data collected on the German online grocery store Get Now appear to show a dire need for money. They raised undisclosed amounts in a VC round, convertible loans, and even the majority shareholder will soon be an offshore company on the Isle of Man. Where the ultimate owners are is not disclosed. Related to that, also, there were reports about Amazon Fresh being a flop in Germany. DHL surely thinks so and ends the delivery for Amazon Fresh, but Fresh only, not like normal packages for Amazon, obviously. And all this goes to show that in Germany, the grocery market is just a very tricky one. It's very price sensitive. We talked about this all the time. I think people are not willing to pay for shipping and handling. And it's really a brutal business, and has been ever since, which was also shown, for example, by the issues that Walmart had when it tried to enter the German market in brick and mortar retail. So yeah, Germans love their groceries cheap. Period. Don't invest, people. No, I don't know. Am I allowed to say this? This is not an official endorsement or not, but I just want to raise the idea that it's very hard. Back to you.
None of us is an investment advisor. None of us is a lawyer or tax advisor. Before you do anything, seek their advice. That was it from me. It was such a pleasure working with you again, Christian. We will get together end of October to do another Startup News wrap-up together with you. And of course, once again from New York. But this time, as you see, we had to change a little bit the setup because Hangouts was stopped by Google. And therefore, unfortunately, we have to change the setup, and we won't do, for the time being, the news not live anymore. And Christian, you want to say goodbye?
Goodbye.
Thank you, guys. It was a pleasure as always. Thank you. Bye-bye.
That's all, folks. Find more news, streams, events, and interviews at www.startuprad.io. Remember, sharing is caring.